Alright, name's Kelby Snow again, and this is my lesson plan 4 through 6. As you can see, going off the same ones last time when we did 1 through 3, and just picking up with 4 activities. Says, what activities have you planned? At the beginning of the lesson, I will introduce a concept of graphing and explain it to the students, the concept of it, and the properties that go along with it. After lecturing, the students will graph equations on the board that I've provided to them individually on a piece of paper at their desk. And then after 15 minutes working individually, I will group them into groups of 3. And in these groups, the students will work with each other, collaborate with each other on how they came up with their answers individually, and then as a group come up with a answer as a whole to introduce to the other groups in the classroom, so the different groups can see how and in which ways they came up with their answers. And then uh, after they get done, there'll be feedback between each of the groups to see if they're right or not, what they can work on, things like that, different ideas that other people have done to get the answer. And then in the remaining of the class, we will either we will get back as a classroom and then discuss each group how they came up with it. And then as a class, we would go over the way that I would have instructed, how I would have done the problems. And then we would see that, doing graphs and doing the properties, there's different ways of doing it. And for each student to see the difference in how each of the groups, how each of the groups, how that each of them done it, how different it was, that there's different ways that they could do it, and they could take those ways and determine which way they would like to do it best, which way is easier for them. Then that there would be, I would assign homework for them, so they could see how far they've gotten, what progress there's been. Then the next day we would go over the homework, the different problems, ask questions, see if I can clarify anything, and then give the students a 5-question quiz and see how they do on it. And then it says, why have you chosen these activities? I have chosen these activities because overall the activities allow repetition learning. And a key way that humans learn is repetition, seeing something over and over again, constantly hearing it over and over again. So the more that I can repeat the same thing over and over again, I think the better that the students will learn. Uh, so, uh, so seeing the lecture, seeing individual work, small group collaboration, classroom collaboration, homework, and then a quiz allows them to see graphing and its properties numerous times. So that repetition should help them out a lot in learning this concept, and hopefully it will be a successful student progression. And then it says the materials, resources. So during a lesson, I will use the whiteboard during lecture, and then markers, whiteboard markers go together to use to write down examples of different type of graphs and their properties that we would use. And then graph paper, I would have them do their graphs on graph paper, so it'd be a more detailed thing with just regular loose leaf paper. Their graphs could be a little askew because it's not very precise. Graph paper would allow that precision. And then pencils for them to use, of course, and then use the classroom book to assign problems for them, and then the quiz so I could see how far they've gotten that student progression. And then why have you chosen these materials? The materials will allow for the lesson plan to take place and have the teacher the opportunity of having class with the objectives of the students learning the concept. So the materials would material will be what all that we need to make the lesson plan work out. And then it says evaluation. How and when do you plan to evaluate student learning on the content of this lesson? I described it in this way. Evaluation is huge during math, so I said that evaluation will be seen throughout the lesson because After I present the lesson through lecture, every student will be evaluated through some extent for the rest of the lesson. For example, during the individual work, I will evaluate them walking around the classroom and seeing what they're doing, making sure that they are on the right track as they are working. Maybe give them some help if they need it. And then during small groups, I will evaluate the students as they collaborate with each other, make sure that they're giving each other good ideas and not telling each other the wrong things. Get them on the right track, make sure that they are keeping with the concept. And then with the small groups, when they're representing, I'm evaluating their concepts and ideas and evaluating who is presenting the most. Like what I mean by that is if you have a 3-man group and one person's speaking, the other two are not, then obviously the one person gets it and the other two doesn't. So I'm looking at that. And then going over the homework, I'm looking at who's asking the most questions. Maybe they need a little bit more help than the others. So I'm looking at that, and then obviously the quiz. I'm seeing how far they've gotten over what we've done in class and the homework, so I can see how far they got with that, and then eventually the test will give me the complete result of the student's progress on the lesson. And it says, why have you chosen this approach for evaluation? So during a math lesson, the students must constantly be evaluated to make sure that they stay on the right track. Like I said before, with math, you got to make sure that they are doing the right thing at all times, because if not, then one little misstep can make a whole problem go wrong. So you got to make sure that they know what they're doing throughout the lesson. So like I said, it's something the students must stay on track throughout the whole lesson, so they must always be evaluated to be sure that they have complete understanding of what is going on. So thank you for listening again, and that's it.